Time now for the help desk section, Brocky.
Well, yeah, Lucy's here.
Lucy's here. Welcome.
Good to be back.
Very good to have you. Duncan Bashir Hannon, Lucy Eckermann, and we're talking all things divorce.
Actually, it's very important, divorce. In fact, the three most critical things in real estate, the way that you know that it's a very genuine sale: death, divorce, or the bank manager. They're the three big Ds, and you're here to talk about one of them today, divorce.
That's
Lucy,
right,
just
yes.
before Brocky fires away, 57% of people end up in divorce. It seems a fairly high number to me.
Yep, and I mean that doesn't even take into account separation between de facto spouses. So
There you go.
it's a pretty frequent occurrence these days.
Yeah, okay.
So how do spouses divide property on separation? What's the process?
Well, look, I mean, preferably they're going to agree how to deal with their property, but of course, failing that, it will be determined by a court. If parties can agree, then they have some options as to how they formalise that agreement. They can sign a binding financial agreement, or they can apply to the court for consent orders to be made.
Okay, and with regard to the family home, what are the rights of each party with the family home?
Yeah, well, I mean, often it's the case that the family home is in the joint names of the spouses, giving each of them a legal interest in the property in any event. But, I mean, it's the case that each spouse is going to have certain rights in the family home. For example, regardless of whose name that home is in, each has the right to remain living there unless a court orders otherwise. Like I said earlier, obviously the spouses are going to attempt to agree how to deal with the property, and failing that, a court will determine it. There's probably a misconception that if a spouse leaves the family home that they lose their entitlement in the property, or their entitlement is diluted, and that's not the case. And there's various ways that if people are concerned about protecting an interest in a property, they can lodge caveats, they can obtain injunctions to prevent the other party from dealing with the property.
So you find,
That's right.
you find that sometimes if there is a capacity, one partner can buy the other one out, or alternatively, if they want to get a really, really good price for the family home, they sell it through Brock Harcourts.
That's right.
You were leading somewhere. What's some factors that are relevant to determining the division of a property? What sort of things does a court
if a court is looking at making a determination, I mean, there's all sorts of things they're going to take into consideration, but probably the major ones would be the financial contributions made by each party, and also non-financial contributions, for example, the care of children or maintaining certain assets. The length of the relationship is very important, and obviously the longer the relationship has lasted, then I mean, in certain circumstances the financial contributions are going to become less important because each party is seen to contribute to the maintenance and improvement of assets.
Sure.
The future requirements of each party are very important. Obviously, if one party has a primary caregiver role in relation to children, they're going to need certain assets to be able to do that. Also, probably before considering any of those things, you need to look at whether there's any binding financial agreement in place where the parties have already agreed as to how assets are to be
Like
divided.
a prenuptial, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Do you have many prenuptials?
Oh yeah, look, it's certainly something that people are inquiring about these days, probably because of the the high rates of separation.
Especially if people are coming into a new relationship and it's fairly lopsided, I guess, in who's got what.
And because de facto spouse, even when people aren't married, if you've been living with a de facto spouse for a certain period of time, then they have a right to apply for a property settlement.
And prenuptials, do they have to actually be set up before a couple live together, or they can be living together for 6 or 8 months and then decide to do it? Or?
Yeah, you can have one drawn up at any time. So you can either decide to do that before you get married, or commence a de facto relationship at any time during the relationship, or even after that relationship is broken down. You can
go into it then.
That's right.
Okay.
Lucy, you mentioned before de facto couples. What is a de facto couple? I'm assuming that's just two people living together.
It's two people living together on a genuine domestic basis. That's sort of the definition under the legislation.
Without specifically tying the knot, as it were?
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
Do they have any different rights in relation to a property settlement to somebody that's actually got married?
Well, look, there's actually new laws coming in on the 1st of July, which essentially means that, yes, they will. Previously, South Australian law has governed de facto relationships, but now we've referred power to the Commonwealth to make laws about that, as have all the other states, or they're in the process of doing so. So as of 1st of July, de facto couples will be able to apply for property settlements under the Family Law Act on essentially the same principles as married couples.
Do you think that's fair?
Oh, look, I think so. I think these days, a lot of people are living in de facto de facto relationships by choice as opposed to marriage.
Sure.
So, Lucy, what qualifies for a de facto entitlement to proceeds from a home? In other words, how long do a de facto couple need to be living together before there is an entitlement?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is something that's changing under the new laws. If you have separated prior to 1st of July and you're being dealt with under South Australian law, you're required to have been living together for at least 3 years, or alternatively have a child together. Under the new laws, that's reduced to a 2-year period.
Oh, okay.
Lucy, if a couple agree on their own separation without needing solicitors, how do they formalise that?
Well, like I said earlier, they can enter into a binding financial agreement. Now, there's certain legal requirements for that to actually be binding, namely that each party has separate legal advice and a solicitor has certified that that advice has been given.
There you go.
The alternative to that, is obviously applying to the court for consent orders or for a court to make a determination. Now, normally the parties are required to undergo some sort of dispute resolution before a court will actually make a determination. So they have to enter into mediation and make a genuine attempt to resolve the dispute.
So with changing legislation, going back to the federal umbrella, I think it's really important for all the viewers today to realise that they need to get proper advice, and certainly I'd strongly recommend that you ring Lucy Eckermann at Duncan Bashir Hannon and get some proper advice so that you know that you're heading in the right direction, Lucy.
That's right.
Your number is, Luce?
82163363.
And email address?
Email address is leckermann, that's with a double N, at dbh.com.au.
Got to have that double N.
Double N.
I know my mate Glenn Cooper, if he gets an invite with only one N, just doesn't even respond.
Wouldn't even go. Duncan Bashir hadn't obviously got a website as well, so please check that out. Lucy, it was lovely having you on board. Thank you very much. That was very, very interesting.
Good on you, Lucy.
I guess a few people would find it a little sad that that divorce number is so high, but it is a way of life, Michael. It is a way of life. Fantastic program, Brocky.
Yeah, great.
Really enjoyed it.
Very interesting.
Some
and
of these new
I loved your segment with Brett Burton, the Birdman. That was classic.
He's a really, really nice fella. I don't think people realise, some of these guys, and particularly footballers, they see him as airheads, but he's a really sensible guy who's got his life planned, and I think it's all going well. So all the way through, it was fantastic having Paul Goodwin on, young fella, Kingston Park. You knew more about that than I, but no difference there. Will Chapman finally arrived and came up with a fascinating segment as per usual, which was great.
Yeah, he was interesting.
Frankie Graney, there he was, riding his bike around Italy one day and talking to us the next. Lucy, of course, again, thank you very much for joining us. Wouldn't be a show without our sponsors, Smart Post, Steve Banwell, good friend of yours, Brocky, good friend of ours as well. Anthony from Amadio Wines, fantastic drop.
Gee, that wine's good stuff.
I'm enjoying it, particularly in this cold weather. Get into a red or two. I'll have one with you later, Lucy. Duncan Bashir Hannon, Lucy Eckermann, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for your ongoing support. Lastly, certainly not least, API Insurance, the good guys down there, Andrew and Rob Skipper, all fantastic sponsors. If you want to check out the show, it is available 24/7. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Open House with Brocky and myself. Over and out.